There's a call comes ringing o'er the restless waves. Send the line, send the line, send the line.
Welcome you all at Mpesa page to this new edition, a special program whereby we're gonna be talking to our pastor. So for now, I need to give opportunity to our guest to introduce himself. Welcome, Pastor.
Welcome, sir. I am greatly honored to be here this moment, such a time like this, at Mpesa page, and also those that will have an opportunity to listen to this interview. My name is Pastor HBS Ngwira, H for Henry, B for Benjamin, S for Sibusiso Ngwira. I am currently a pastor in KwaZulu-Natal Free State Conference, and I am currently the executive secretary of the conference. And in a few weeks from now, I'll be assuming a new responsibility as an associate executive secretary at the Southern African Union Conference. And above all, I am just a pastor, and I was privileged to pastor Mpesa, a group, Ethiopian group, and Siakula, Siatutuka, Maran Ridge, and also Fountain SDA Church. But in a nutshell, I am excited to be called a pastor, a servant of God.
Thank you, Pastor. Let us look at your Christianity, how you become Christian, and from your Christianity up to where you started the pastoring.
Firstly, I can say that one was privileged to be born in an Adventist family. My grandfather was the one who first accepted the Adventist message. He was a pastor in the gospel church, and he was then converted to become a Seventh-day Adventist member when he was in Malawi. And also when that was happening, my dad was here in South Africa. Somewhere, somehow, by God's intervention, both of them find the truth of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I can say that I was born in a family that accepted the Seventh-day Adventist truth, which is mainly keeping the Sabbath and the Ten Commandments. But having said that, it doesn't make me automatically a Christian. I had to make my own decision to become a member, a disciple of Jesus Christ, to a point that I remember that my grandfather used to force us to memorize the verses, praying every time. At that moment, it was boring, not exciting. Little did we realize that one day one will become a pastor. To say the truth is that I never thought that I'll be a pastor. But when I was doing my matric in those days, now they call it grade 12, I had to pass Afrikaans. Moving from Malawi to South Africa, starting grade 7, going to matric, one had to pass Afrikaans to make it to varsity. And that for me was a challenge, whereby we had to study Afrikaans. So English was my first language, Afrikaans was my second language, and I had to make sure that I must pass Afrikaans for me to get a matric exemption or to be accepted in the university. And I remember one of our teacher who was trying to help us to do better in Afrikaans, and even to ask us to come and do Afrikaans on Sabbath, which is Saturday. And there were classes that were happening on Saturday. And I remember I did compromise for a month, which is about 4 Sabbath. I would go there in the morning, attend 9 o'clock to about 11 o'clock, then dash to Durban Central to attend church. But somewhere, somehow, I felt that was not right. So one had to make a decision to say, I have to go to church, whether I pass Afrikaans or not. I must leave the result with God. But what happened was I had to pray and to bargain with God and to say, if I pass Africans, first of all, I stopped going to school on Saturday, and secondly, I had to go to church, and then I had to bargain with God to pray and ask Him to say, if I pass Africans, I will do anything that He wants me to do. But mainly, I wanted to do political science. I loved politics, I enjoyed politics, but I had now to bargain with God that if I can pass Africans, I will do anything that He wants me to do. And I passed Africans. So God did His part, and now I had to do His. I had to do my part, and which was to listen. What is it that He wanted me to do? But pastoring was not on my card. Never thought I would be one, but here I am. But I don't regret that decision. I am happy that God called me to this. How did He call me to this? Because I had a still voice that was saying to me, you wanted to do political science, you wanted to be a politician, now I want you to be a heavenly politician, which I did not understand. What is it to be a heavenly politician? But little did I realize that was to carry the good news, the Bible, to be a pastor. It was a shock at the first time, but I had to respond to the promise that I made. I will do anything that He wants me to do.
Thank you, Pastor.
I had to keep up to the promise that I made, that if I pass Afrikaans, I will do anything that God wanted me to do. And I must then add there to say, when it became clear that I have to be a pastor, in my mind, I thought about so many pastors that I've come across, putting on a tie every day, carrying a briefcase, carrying the Bible, greeting people in the market, Maranatha. For me, that was embarrassing. For me, that was not my thing. So, although I responded to His call to be a pastor, and then I even went to Solusi to study, but I can say that the first 2 years, I was just there because that's what I promised God. But my heart was not in it until in the third year, when it was so clear that God really wanted me to be there. And I can say, I am happy that I said yes to the Lord. I cannot think of anything else. I cannot leave the ministry. I sometimes fret leaving, but because of that commitment, I am excited and I'm happy. And to me, I'm not better. It's a privilege to be called by God to save His people. So I am happy where I am, to be a herald of preparing for the second coming of the Lord.
Thank you. That is how Pastor Ngwira started pastoring. Which verse do you like?
There are so many verses that I like, but there are two that comes to mind. I will start with Psalms 27 and verse 4 that simply says, one thing I have desired of the Lord, that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in His temple. So one thing is to dwell in the house of the Lord. I related this verse that when I said yes to the Lord, I am praying that I will remain faithful to work for Him in His house. Then the second one is in the First Timothy 6:7 that speaks about, I call it stewardship of nothingness, that I came to this world alone. I came with nothing.
No clothes.
I go
No anything.
without anything. I didn't have children. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have a car. So that verse challenges me that, Ngwira, wait a minute. You are in this world, but you came with nothing. So you cannot focus on nothing. You know, Nothing like things that you have. Sometimes it can be a family that God blesses with you, position in the churches, wealth that you have. Yes, we have to have those things, but I came with nothing. Then when I die, I also die with what? With nothing. So the only thing, it takes me back to this verse. One thing that I desire, that I must seek the Lord and dwell in his house. So I am just a steward of what I have. Does not belong to me, it belongs to God.
Which song in a casting song do you like?
It's a song, it's a consecration, a prayer, and that's 138. That talks about a complete consecration of everything about me to the Lord. In Chichia kuti ndipereka zonse kwa mbuya mwana mbuya anga ndizipereka. And then in Zulu it says ndinikela konke about myself to him. So that song to me, it's the same one, but at the same time it's an admonition to me that everything, your thought, your feet, your hands, your head, your mind need to be consecrated to the Lord. You know why? Because working for the Lord, I believe I eat holy money. I'm paid to be holy. So I need to be holy. So everything about me should be consecrated to God. So I like that song.
As a pastor, what are the challenges? Or you don't have challenges?
Challenges are everywhere. In every profession, there are challenges. I can say that. In the ministry, we've got our own challenges. Doctors have got their own challenges. Carpenter have got their own challenges. But one thing about the ministry is that sometimes it's a very lonely place in the ministry. You know, why am I saying that? Is that I have people that I work with, I have colleagues, but we may not be that close that we are able to speak, and encourage each other about our journey. And I also see ministry as a profession that is full of hypocrites. So including myself, I may be a pastor but a hypocrite, because what I preach and what I do, these things doesn't speak to each other. So sometimes you find that I may tell people about faith, but myself I don't have faith. I may tell people about people to believe, and that scares me. So the challenges in the ministry is that, for me, I think I was very clear, and even I remember very well my wife, girlfriend by then, when I wanted to marry her, I showed her my payslip and I said, I am entering a business or a profession that has got no money. And even Christ himself, he was followed by people. He had no home, but people were following him. And I'm always amazed to hear what were these disciples like Peter, John, James, when they left their profession and following a man without even a home. Because people asking, where is your home? But he didn't have a home, but they were following him. So the challenges in the ministry is that, number one, we may feel like there's not much money, financial challenges, that's one of them. Spiritual challenges, whereby people expect you to be spiritual, where sometimes you run on an empty stomach, empty tank, where you are a spiritual giant, but you yourself, you are not. Another challenge is that there is a professional jealousy. Why? It's because when I went to school to study, I don't remember even once when I thought that one day I'll be a youth director, which I was for 9 years in KwaZulu-Natal Free State Conference. I never even thought that one day I'll be the executive secretary of the conference. I never even thought one day that I'll be called to be at the union as an associate executive secretary. All those things were not in my mind. All I wanted was to be a pastor, to preach the word of the Lord, that Jesus is coming. So these days we find that when God extend our ministry to places like conferences and the union, we become pompous. We think we are better, forgetting our call. Our call is not in the conferences, unions, division, and the general conference, but it is on the grassroots to feed the flock. So I will always want to be a pastor in everything that I do. So the challenge is people, some will love you, some won't love you, but I think you need to be principled. And I'm moved by the words of John Maxwell in his Bible, Leadership Bible. I think it's in John 2 there, where Christ changed water into wine. But Maxwell puts it a very powerful caption, says, as a leader, you must do the unpopular to accomplish the unforgettable. So that has been my driving force, to do the unpopular to accomplish the unforgettable. So as a pastor, you cannot be loved by everybody. And other people will say, if you want to be loved by everybody, be money or sell ice cream.
What are the good things you meet while you are in this ministry?
For me, I am thankful that as much as there are these challenges, ministering to share the good news about the coming of the Lord, to comfort those that have lost their beloved one, to visit the sick, to see people in their homes, appreciating. Sometimes you go there, you share the word of God, and then you hear says, Pastor, how did you know? I just needed this. And sometimes people will say to you, we miss you, our shepherd. When are you visiting you? The old ladies, the young people, the families, and even sometimes in counseling, when you see families are in trouble, they're at the verge of divorcing, praying with them and encouraging them, coming back to the Lord and seeing them back on track, you can see the miracle and the grace of God. That to me encourages me. They may not pay you, they may not say thank you sometimes, but to see them on track, and I think that blesses. No wonder why it says you must do good because it is good, even if you don't expect anything. So for me, to make a difference in someone's life blesses my soul.
In your explanation, you say that I take a sleep and I show my wife, but then she was my girlfriend. And you said that I came with nothing, without wife, no children. So, which means you have wife, you have children. How do you divide the time as a pastor and as a family man?
It's a balancing act. You just have to juggle it around. Sometimes you will find them complaining that you are busy with your work, and at the same time you don't want to disappoint God in the call. But all I can simply say that number one, I am married to a woman that is very much supportive to the ministry. Sometimes, yes, she may misses me to say I'm too much in my work, but I have never seen her grumbling. But she is happy to see me doing my father's business. But that does not mean that I must neglect her. I try to make time, including my children, which I've got 3 kids. I've got my first daughter, Chikondi, which for me is mainly the love of God, Chikondi Chambuya. So we gave her Chikondi as the love of God, and also the love I have for my family and my wife. And then the other one is Chisomo. And again, in our family, we have seen the grace of God, to see how God is leading us. And then the third one is a boy that we never thought we'll have one. I was happy with my two girls, Chikondi and Chisomo, and I think they were praying for a brother, and God answered their prayer. In Zulu is Mpendulo, in Chichewa is Yanku. That's why sometimes it Ambuye, Amayanka, Mapempelo, Atu. So God answered their prayer. So I've got 3 children that I love. Yes, they're unique, very unique.
Maybe
Different
another
from each
one
of them.
Another one will come, will go to Chifundu.
Now we are looking at things from above. We don't know if there's anyone that will come now, but we are.
I'm just
not
joking.
God.
I'm just
But
joking.
we have 3, and so it's a family. I try. Little time I have time to chat with them. Each one of them, whether it's 5 minutes, talk to them, talk to me. So we are close as a family.
Okay.
So I try to balance that.
Okay.
It may not be the best, but one keep on trying. Although with the Zoom now, sometimes you're in the house, you're busy with the Zoom meetings. They will pray alone. And sometimes you feel bad as a pastor because I need to be the priest and the head of the family to lead them to worship.
Amen. That is Pastor Ngwira. To those who are joining us, we are talking to Pastor Ngwira, the pastor. He pastoring a long time, I think, in Durban Central, and also we were lucky. He was also pastoring on Mpesa. That's why we have him now. Now, what advice can you give to small churches? I don't know, going to groups or what so names, but small churches, so that they can grow.
All I can say is that small churches have potential to grow. Fewer you are determined, you are willing, you are able to know each other, you become a grace-oriented church or a friendly church. You are able to know each other's name. When someone is not there, you are able to identify that so is not here, what is happening. But if those fewer churches can plug into a mission, understanding what God has done for them first, and then killing themselves to say, I need to do something for the Lord. If, let's say, you have a group of 10 people, those 10 just target one member, a friend. In 3 months' time, that church will grow to 20. That's why we've got a slogan of total membership involvement. We must move from spectators to participants. Everybody must feel a responsibility, and that this church belongs to me. The growth of the church is not in the pastor, is not in the leadership, but it is in every individual that is part of that member that has experienced the grace of God. So small churches have potential to grow. Big churches, they've reached a stagnation where people are just happy that we are many. We are 400, we are 200, but there's no growth. So I'm saying, if we can move towards splitting cell groups, small groups, then the church will grow. The gospel will move. And I must also say that I'm excited to be part of pastoring the foreign nations here in KwaZulu-Natal, like Mpesa, which many are the Malawian group, and also Ethiopian group that we have. Then we've got the Zimbabwean. If you look at it, it's a beautiful ministry from a strategy point, and also the conference leadership. We must grow to a point that we must push the conference leadership even to start employing a pastor from Malawi to come and pastor the Malawi nation here.
Amen.
The same thing with Ethiopian. If the Ethiopian members can grow, the conference must be able to place a call to bring an Ethiopian pastor. The same with the Zimbabwean, because we are one, but growing God's kingdom right here in KwaZulu-Natal. Since people are moving from other countries, they are here. So issues of xenophobic, issues of name calling, like Kwere Kwere and so forth. Now, by the way, I tell people when they say Kwere Kwere Ngwira from Malawian, so my grandmother is South African, my grandfather is Malawian. So when people say, why you've got an accent, I said, no, I'm a Kwere Zulu.
Yeah, Ngwira is a Malawian name. Yeah.
So Ngwira is Malawian,
Malawian name.
and then my grandmother is South African. So when they got married, I said, it's a Kwere Zulu. So I look at myself also not as a Kwere Kwere, but as a Kwere Zulu. So I'm a proudly Malawian South African to be exposed to both countries. And that has taught me so many things, to be exposed to how Malawian live and also how South African live. So I am privileged to have both countries. And again, to study in Zimbabwe and now back here. So I think, to me, I count that as a privilege.
Send the blessing gospel light, let it shine from shore to shore.